So, if we're going to start here, we got the Death Knight, Staff of the Primus, 1 mana, double Unholy Rune, 1/3 weapon. After your hero attacks, shuffle a random plague into your opponent's deck. Plagues work a lot like bombs from Bomb Warrior back in the day. They are cast when drawn cards. They have 3 effects. There is a Blood Plague, which deals 2 damage to the person who draws it, and gives 2 health to the person who shuffled it in. There's the Unholy Plague that deals 2 damage to the person who draws it, and summons a 2/2 for the person who shuffled it in. And the Frost Plague, which deals 2 damage to the person who draws it. And the next card that they cast costs 1 more, up to a maximum of 10. So 10 cost cards are still playable.
Yeah.
So have you seen this whole package yet?
The plague package, right?
Yes.
There's synergy with this too?
There is.
Okay.
So just so you're aware, for any background prediction knowledge, this package is Unholy Frost.
Okay. That's kind of, if you do that combination, there's a lot of cards that are synergistic with it. Okay. So this kind of card, I think the issue, like I think in a long value matchup where you still can afford to play 1 mana weapons, this could be very, very strong in that, the raw efficiency of this card when you hit all 3 plagues is undeniable, but the fact is most games don't get to that. The most games you won't draw any cards. So, and it's a thing of also, are you running this low value card? Do you have lots of card draw in your deck that you can run a low value card in a sort of slower deck? I'm not sure. But I think, that being said, a 1 mana weapon can be good enough. So 1 mana with upside might just be marginally good enough, but not crazy. That's kind of my instinct. What do you think?
Yeah, in Hearthstone, what we don't have is infinite time. And for this deck to work, you need a deck that really pushes into the long game, which is a little unfortunate for Frost Unholy, because you lose access to basically all of your freeze tools and all of your life gain tools and a lot of your removal, frankly.
Yeah.
There's some removal in this package, but the real question is, can you consistently get to the long, and I mean long game?
Yeah. I think, if this just hits 1, it's probably worth it. But like, let's say you put 3 cards in. That's by turn 4, so that takes a while. Or turn 3. Let's say if you're playing this on 1. So you get some immediate, more control of the board. But so then every turn they have 3 of these things in. So they have about, let's just make it a 1 out of 7. They get down to 21 cards. It's an estimate turn, so 1 out of 7. So then 1 out of 7. I'm maybe by turn 10, on average, 1 of these cards have come out. I'm probably messing up some of the math. Maybe like 1.2. That doesn't seem that good. Of like, I have to play my 1 mana card, gets value by turn 10. That seems, but I'm in maybe the right deck, maybe the right situation. It could be good enough. 1 mana weapon, if you have a meta where Unholy values. I think that my instinct is like, if this is Frost, or Unholy Frost, I'd rather run the Frost 1 mana weapon, because that weapon's insanely good. Right?
Yeah, you could run both, hypothetically. You could also run Rune Forging if you want to help find this, but
then you have too many weapons, so...
Yeah. This is a scuffed Light's Justice until you start drawing plagues or getting synergies. So it's the whole package, sink or swim. It's like almost impossible to look at this as a single card.
Yeah.
And my major doubt here is that I don't think this archetype is going to be very good at going into the long game.
Yeah, it seems like this card would, be really good in Blood Death Knight, right? You run this in Blood Death Knight, you control the board, you've got these annoying plagues, maybe Blood Death Knight doesn't have a lot of card draw, but like maybe, they get a card draw card like this. But so it seems like this is a card that's more useful in a control deck than a mid-range deck. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, for what it's worth, I don't know if Unholy Frost actually has very good card draw either.
Yeah.
There's one card in this expansion that we'll see. There is the Chillfallen Baron, and it's extra painful to spend 3 mana on a 2/2 in this archetype when you're missing blood. And then there is kind of that's it. That's about the draw for the deck. You can play Magatha.
Yeah. So we're on the 1 to 4 scale. Is that what we want to do again? Or do you want to do a different scale?
The sheet says 1 to 5. We can cut out the 5. That's up to you.
Let's do. You want to do 1 to 5? Like if the sheet does.
Sure.
Okay. I'm on 1 to 4. It felt like a 2, but now 1 to 5. I'm like, is it a 2 or a 3? Can I do 2.5 then?
That pick a lane.
Okay, I'll pick
going
2.
2 personally.
I'll pick 2. I'll pick 2.
Yeah.
I
don't see the survival capacity of the deck here. If this plague deck breaks out of tier 3, I'm going to be amazed.
Yeah. So I mean, and these aren't, the hard thing is like these are nice, but these aren't bombs. Like
no.
So
they're not.
Like the problem is like if you want to. Like I feel the card could slot into a deck that already is doing okay, that it works with, but it's not enough to be a build around, So
we have the payoffs coming later.
Okay, so let's keep going. So, but I'll give it 2. So, all right.
Yeah. So next up we got Distressed Valdir, a 2-mana 3/2 undead 2 unholy rune again. Death Rattle. Shuffle 2 random plagues into your opponent's deck.
Yeah, I think this one, the same kind of thing. It's slow, but I think there's a lot of Death Rattle synergy on top of it in Unholy. So this could have scalability. One, like we said, the archetype I think we're saying is unconvincing, but this card seems like in an archetype could be strong enough. You play this, you play the 1-mana Grave, all of a sudden that's 6 plagues. But still, I'm not convinced. I'm just not convinced by these plagues that they win games. So
it's especially difficult to hit this with that 1-mana Death Growl because you need other minions to Death Growl into.
Yeah,
and if you're already kind of spending a lot of mana doing this plague stuff and not really developing an Unholy Swarm plan, it's harder to make that stick. And Death Growl, I thought that card would be a lot better. It actually wasn't very good last time.
Yeah, I'd rather have just 3 threes, from eggs than this, right? What I'd rather do, so
you can use this with the Kraken if you want. You can use it maybe with Yodeler if it lives to 4. It probably doesn't. It's just that those are extra conditionals on top of this plan. This is Bloodfen Raptor for a long time.
Yeah. So I'll give it. I'll give it a 2. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a 1. But I'll give it a 2. So
I feel like I'm going to give a lot of this stuff a 2 for the exact same reason.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Down with the Ship. 2-mana Shadow Spell, 1 Frost, 1 Unholy Rune. Deal 3 damage to a minion. If it dies, shuffle 2 random plagues into your opponent's deck.
This seems better than the other cards, dealing 3 damage to something and summon plagues. Seems a little bit more reasonable, but...
Yeah, this card makes me sad every time I look at it. Because it doesn't go face, which is sad. And it has to actually kill the minion before you get plagues. You can't just punch something for 3 and get them.
Yeah. So
it feels gratuitous.
It feels like Serrated Bone Spike, but Serrated Bone Spike is clearly better. You get 2 plagues, but those are, like you said, those are just very slow tempo. So we're just gonna be giving twos all around.
I think the entire plague package is gonna end up with a 2, even the payoff, sadly, for that reason. But it's not a convincing card Down with the Ship. It's not even a Plague Strike. You can play Plague Strike 2 if you want, but this card is well below that power level up front. I don't care for it very much. Anywho, next up, we got Frozen Over. 2-mana Frost Spell. Both players draw 2 cards. Your opponent cannot play theirs next turn.
I think this is playable. It's like Fringe, but it's a perfect example of a 2 where you had that one something project for the old mage card still seems playing wild. This is just better than that, so this is absolutely playable. But these cards tend to be for weird wacky decks, but this isn't a card that's amazing, but the right deck might really love this card. So
Yeah, the plague deck does kind of like this card
yeah,
because you draw your opponent's plagues for them.
yeah. So
But it's outside of that application. Would this be good for like a regular 3 Frost Rune deck? Probably not.
yeah, you could. I mean, this could also, this card comes out a year from now. Some wacky frost deck that wants to, draw a ton, shows up. Who knows? I just think this card is good. Like, is a perfect example of like fringe, but in the right deck might be very valuable. So, but most of the time it's not going to be valuable. So it's not one of those cards that's like just good. It's like it really depends on the deck building. So.
Yeah, we saw this, as you said, with Research Project.
Yeah,
This
that's
already
the one,
existed. It did occasionally see play. It's a
Yeah.
fine-ish effect. It's not an awful card. It's just not an amazing one either.
Yeah, so I think perfect example of a 2. So yeah,
I'm in for a 2 as well.
yeah.
All right, after Frozen Over, we got Northern Navigation. 2 mana, 1 Frost Rune, Frost spell. Discover a spell from your deck. If it's a Frost spell, freeze a random enemy minion. So,
I mean,
Shadow Vision, slight upside.
Yeah. You can use this to get Frostborn Furies, I guess. So I mean,
A major problem there is you don't play this in Triple Frost because you want to draw your specific Frost spells, the good ones, with your Frigid Aura.
Yeah. I mean, this is an interesting in that like there are cards that see play that are objectively worse than this card in other classes. So, but it still doesn't seem that good. But it probably makes the cut in some deck eventually, right? Because just we've seen, so because we've seen
It's
cards,
very fringe.
yeah. So I think it's another. Giving this a 1 seems a mistake. Giving this 3 seems a mistake. It seems another 2's all around, So
Yeah, I guess I'm in for it too. I was kind of on a 1 just because I don't think Shadow Visions is even that good of a card these days.
yeah, but
with a small upside, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking for all of a sudden there's a broken card that you want to hit, and then all of a sudden the tutoring is amazing, and you get to free something, So that it's more dependent on what other cards get printed. So
Kind of weird that I wouldn't run this in Triple Frost right now, but maybe in a different deck in the future that doesn't run Frigidara. Can't even really run this in your Plague deck because the Down with the Ship card is Shadow. Kind of sad. Oh well. Next up, we got Eulogizer. 3 mana, 3/3 undead. Battle Cry, spend 3 corpses to deal 3 damage. But if you forge it, you gain those corpses instead. Forge, for those of you who don't know, works a lot like tradable, sort of, in that you drag the card over your deck, you spend 2 mana, the card upgrades, and then goes back into your hand as the upgraded version. It doesn't get shuffled in, but mechanically you hold it over your deck and spend 2.
yeah, I mean, the 5 mana for deal 3, gain 2 corpses is incredibly inefficient. Are you putting down a hero, like not hero powering on 2 even with the deck? Like why do decks want these corpses so bad? Or I don't know. It's even the 3 mana deal 3 is good. Like, but if you don't have if you can't reliably do it, it seems.
It's not the stone cold nuts for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, if it were always deal 3 mana, deal 3, it would probably be a strong card, but still not broken. But like with these downsides and it seems like I don't know. I'm feeling this is a 1. So
it might be. I could see a world where maybe Blood DK would want this. It's like better to do this on turn 2 than it is to hero power.
Yeah,
but even then, I'm not entirely convinced that it's better to do this than play just about any other 3 that discovers a spell or a minion or whatever.
Yeah, 2 mana is also a lot. I feel like for these forges, I feel if you're a 1 mana forge, you could play it on 1. This card all of a sudden seems like it might be good enough, but like at 2 mana, like you have your hero power, so it's always conflicting with your hero power. I feel like it's like so yeah.
Yeah, and especially if you're an Unholy deck and you're looking to develop, or you're a Frost deck and you're looking to develop early, you can't forge instead of develop.
Yeah, 5 mana, deal 3, 3, 3, gain 3 corpses is still not that good, you know. So yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 1, even though I'm betting it's gonna actually show up in a Blood DK deck, but it's not even gonna be amazing.
I think this card is, my instinct is unplayable. So yeah. So
1s all around. Next up, we got Helia, legendary. 4 mana, single unholy rune, 4/4. Battlecry, shuffle all 3 plagues into the opponent's deck. Plagues they draw this game are unending. Unending in this context means they draw the plague, they take 2 damage, they would draw their next card, and then the plague shuffles back into their deck afterwards.
okay.
So if they were in Fatigue and you play this, they draw 3 plagues, they draw a Fatigue card, and then 3 plagues get shuffled in. It's like a Hakar Blood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this card's like you don't run any other play cards. You just put this at the end of the deck, and then like you auto win in Fatigue. You know, like if you can get there.
Shot.
You know, so
Unholy does not go to Fatigue.
yeah, I mean that's why I said this would be. It's interesting. This card is balanced around Unholy being bad at making this card good. Because if I could run this in Blood Death Knight, I'm like ecstatic, right?
Oh sure.
This card's broken in Blood Death Knight, so it's weird of like evaluating this card. Is so much about like, can you make this crappy Unholy rune? Like this card doesn't make a sense. It's balanced around it not making sense in Unholy. You know,
It's weird.
yeah.
I'm looking at this archetype right now, and I see all of this stuff has effects later, but up front, what you're getting is a Light's Justice with -1 durability. You're getting a Bloodfen Raptor that has to die before it does anything. You're getting a Dark Bomb that can't go face. And now you're getting, let's say, a Hench Clan Burglar that doesn't discover a spell. Like, you really got to push into the late game for this stuff to work, because we're talking about a bunch of cards that already don't see play and they're not close.
I'm wondering if I could play Blood Death Knight, because this is a 1 green card, and just run a bunch of cards that could discover this, and then win with this as my win condition, like in a bunch of games, you know.
Unfortunately, that means no Mograine and no Vamp Blood.
Yeah.
Feels bad.
Yeah. So if you're, you know, so I mean, I'm not going to worry about building the right deck. I think in isolation, which is kind of how I like to think about the cards in the card review, this card is strong. It just doesn't make sense in Unholy and any Unholy tempo build. But like, I think this card's good. You know, I think this card's like really good. It's just not good in Unholy, like any Unholy tempo deck. So if you can, like, I think you could run this card in a not rune deck or not a non-plague deck, just as like, I put this card in and they're at, you know, 7 cards, and all of a sudden, you know, they're taking these things a lot more. Which,
if,
you know,
if Unholy gets to that situation, which it currently doesn't.
Yeah, so I want to give this a 4. So yeah.
Ooh, all right. I'm gonna give this a 2.
Okay.
Or it's a very good card for the archetype, probably.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if the archetype's any good.
Yeah, well, that's why I feel like this card's good enough without the archetype. Like you could, in the right deck, like it doesn't need all the synergy. So yeah,
we'll see about that one. Next up, we got Tomb Trader, 4 mana, 4/3, Unholy and Frost Rune. Battlecry: destroy a plague in your opponent's deck to deal 3 damage to all enemy minions. So there's a point of comparison here in Shard Shatter Mystic. That used to blow up a soul fragment in your deck to deal 3 damage to all minions. This blows up a plague in the opponent's deck to deal 3 damage to all of their minions and not yours.
I mean, that card at 3 mana got nerfed.
It did.
It did.
At 4 mana, it was not outstanding.
Yeah, it was bad at 4 mana. This has more stats than that. This one doesn't require. It does damage to all minions, so it works more with you having board.
It does.
So while my like instinct on the plague cards aren't that strong, like this card, when you're like, this card might be the card that enables the whole archetype, which feels pretty like that allows you to control the board and play a longer game.
It's definitely a big part of it. Yeah. There's one issue I see when I'm looking at these cards, though, which is that your 2-drop deals 3, and your 2-damage spell deals 3. And this thing deals 3. And I wonder And I'm not being facetious when I say this. What happens when your opponent plays a minion that has 4 health?
Yeah, it's like when Priest had to deal with 4 attack minions back in the day and they conceded. So that's pretty rough. So yeah.
It's
So
good. It's a good effect. So
yeah.
we've seen Duskbreaker before. That card was good at the time. Probably wouldn't be very good today. We saw Shard Shatter Mystic. That card was good at 3, not so good at 4. Probably wouldn't be outstanding today. And there was also Lightmaw Nether Drake in Priest, the 4-mana 4/4 that if you had the Holy and Shadow spell, dealt 3 damage. And that card was also not that amazing when it was floating around.
But the more we talk about, the more cards that are similar have seen play and been good enough, or even good, really good at times. I'm gonna give this a 4. Like I said, it doesn't mean I believe in the plague package, but I think this card's good. So
yeah, I'm going to give it a 2 simply because I can't stop assessing it outside the plague package. Because you can't play this in any other deck. You just can't
the runes, the runes are like make things weird, but I try not to think about. There's too many factors often, and like long term. So I try to think of things when in isolation a little bit. Obviously everything it's hard. You can't really completely do that, but if I think a card's good, I kind of like. Even if the package sucks, I like to give it a higher rating. That's kind of why I look at things. But anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. It's understandable. Next up, we got the Titan, the Primus. 8 mana, 7/9. After this, uses an ability, discover a card with that rune. So, real quick, for those of you who don't know how Titans work, Titan's a new keyword. These come into play with 3 abilities they will use instead of attacking. And they basically have charge. So they can use 1 ability when you drop them, and then the next turn they use the second ability of there are 2 left, you pick 1. Next turn they would use their last ability, and then they attack as normal minions. In this case, this is going to, after it uses an ability, discover a rune with a card from that rune. 3 abilities are, in this case, you discover an Unholy card and summon 2/3/3 Undead with Taunt and Reborn. Or you discover a Frost card, and the next spell you cast costs 3 less and has spell damage +3. That will hold across turns. It's just the next spell you cast. And there's Runes of Blood, which will discover a blood card, destroy an enemy minion, and the Primus and your hero gain its health. And gain its health in this way works like Vamp Blood. It's not a heal, it is an addition.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about this beyond Titan good.
Yeah, 5, easy 5.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Yeah. I think you just shove this in decks that it doesn't make sense to run it. Like because you're like, oh, I'm playing my whatever deck, but I'm gonna put the Primus in. What death for the next 2 years? What death deck doesn't run this card? Like it's absurd, right? So yeah.
Yeah, it seems really good. Definitely for Blood, probably the best in Blood, just because it's a later game card, but.
I'll slap this in Unholy. I'll slap this in. Frost. Maybe there's some like really low curve version that doesn't run it, but like anything, it seems absurd. Yeah.
It seems quite good.
Yeah.
All right, good. Titan, good. Okay. That's easy. Next and last card for DK, we got Chained Guardian, 11 mana, 1 Unholy rune, 8/5 with Rush and Reborn. Costs 1 less for each plague shuffled into the enemy deck this game.
Yeah.
So if we run through this mentally, best case scenario, you get your weapon on 1. By turn 3, that shuffles in 3 plagues. You play a 2-drop on 2 that shuffles in 2 plagues. You're up to 5. Maybe if you drop another 2-drop or Helia. By turn 4, you can be up to 8 to 9. Turn 5, if you do well, this is playable. And if you don't do well, it's playable later.
Yeah. I mean, in the weird scenario where our deck has no problem getting to the late game without getting out-tempoed, and then we shove these down for 0 mana. Obviously, it's great, but it's it's not. You do all these bad tempo plays to get this card. But like, You know, and it's hard of like, you know, how many games you're gonna get the late game, but you just haven't got enough plagues, and you still have to play 3 or 4 mana for this, you know.
Yeah, I
So
feel like this is turn 6, maybe 7 is when you're realistically going to be playing this a lot of the
yeah, and
time.
if I have to play this realistically for 3 or 4 mana, like with the cost, it's still not good. Like I mean, it's good when I play it for 0 mana, and it's easy to get it to 0 mana, even if it naturally gets to that point in the game. Or but at 3, yeah. So
Yeah, these
11,
are never coming down on turn 3 or 4.
yeah.
Ever.
So you know, I'm not gonna give it a 1 quite. I'll give it a 2. That's what I'm thinking. So
Yeah, I'm on 2. I'm on kind of
team
this whole
2.
thing.
Yeah.
I'm honestly a little bit concerned for DK because I like the shuffle thing. It feels kind of naughty and mean and cool and different, and I like that part thematically. But the entirety of the DK set, except for the Titan, basically, has an unholy frost rune combination. And if you don't play all of these cards in that deck, it's like DK didn't get a set. It's like Blood Frost,
Yeah.
Unholy as it stands, they don't touch almost any of these cards outside of the Titan.
I'm gonna have a great time playing Blood Death Knight no do cards Titan. You know, it's gonna be great, and it's gonna and maybe some other neutral cards. You know, so yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's I mean realistically, my general opinion is if you have a class that is already has things, you know, not every expansion, you know, is going to have 11, you know, 11 classes that have things that are compelling. So it's like, and this is some of the stuff. It's like, I don't think these rune cards are bad. I think they're bad in the, or, sorry, these play cards are bad. I think they're bad in the runes that you're forced into, you know?
I would agree.
So it's a thing of there is a possibility of the right synergy put a year from now, and all of a sudden they see play. You know, so it's hard. Like they're not unplayable. They're just you know, like I didn't even think of like something like Curse Warlock, which was good enough for a while. I mean, it did get buffed, but it was good enough for a while, and then the incentives changed. You lost things like Kamzin, and then they were bad. You know, so you know something changes, then all of a sudden they're good enough, and maybe it's a marginal, you know, high tier 3, low tier 2 deck, but I could totally see that happening. You know?
I kind of like the Curse Warlock comparison because these are a bit similar to Curses.
Yeah.
And Curse Warlock is a bad deck. And I'm not sure if this deck is any better, but hey, maybe it'll surprise me.
Yeah.
And they can always try and buff it if they want.
There have been points in Wild I know where Curse Warlock's been broken, so it's like that's what I mean of like depending on synergies and depending on, you know, incentives. You know, I'm not unsold, but I think it's unlikely in this expansion. Just looking at these, that this is going to be broken, so or real strong. So
all right, let's move on to Demon Hunter then.
okay.
We could start out with Crystalline Statue, which is a 2-mana 5/4 elemental with Rush, starts dormant, and awakens after you draw 4 cards.
So I'm comparing this to Imprisoned Vilefiend,
Sure.
which was a card I was a big fan of. Was neutral, and
Probably wakes up about as quickly.
Was absolutely on the margin of like okayly good enough, and then once stronger cards got printed, wasn't good enough. This card seems about that strength, actually less, because Prison Vial, you know, how often are you getting this next turn? And then how often is it convenient to get next turn? The 3/5 stat line actually seems better than the 5/4 stand line. So I all that up, this looks like unplayable. So I think it's a 1. And as someone who loves dormant minions, like I think this is a 1. So
Yeah, I'm very much on the 1 train too. First, you can't really play it in an Outcast deck because this says the word Rush on it, and you don't want that to be drawn from your Rush the Stages. And you don't really want to play this in Demon Hunter that does relics because this isn't exactly a good fit.
yeah,
You don't draw many cards. So you play it in that aggressive deck with the Sightless Magistrate and the Magnifying Glaive, but even there you're spending 2 mana for a dormant minion,
yeah,
which that deck doesn't really want to do. So I'm firmly on a 1 for this too.
yeah. This card seems unplayable. So yeah.
Alright, next up we got Runic Adornment. 2 mana, discover a spell that costs 3 or less. That goes into your hand. Then you shuffle 2 copies into your deck that cast when drawn.
A spell that costs 3 or less.
So you get a card in your hand and then 2 copies in the deck.
Okay. That's kind of cool. I don't know if it's good, but it's cool. Let me think about it. This is a tough one. I mean,
I think it's an okay card. I think the spell Demon Hunter might like this.
oh, some people are saying relic. If you get a relic off this, it's insane, right? Like,
Yeah, Relic Demon Hunter might like this.
you get like the 3 mana spell, and you're just getting. Oh, I just drew 2 10/10s. Like, that's absurd. Like, I mean, obviously that's a high roll, but like Demon Hunter is a really good pool. So you can take it. Oh, 1 mana Unleash Fel. Like, that might be good enough. You get another Unleash Fel, and then I just drew an Unleash Fel, gain 7 life on something like that. So.
Let's see. If I pop over to Demon Hunter spells right
Yeah.
now in standard, how many cost less than 3? A lot.
Yeah.
Goodness.
So.
About 20 of them.
Okay. It's also somebody saying it does have anti-synergy with the Relic of Dimensions.
Slight anti-synergy, because if you shuffle in a 3-cost spell and you draw that off Relic of Dimensions and it casts for free, yeah, you don't get the discount from Relic of Dimensions, but you also cast a 3-cost spell for free, so it kind of evens out.
Yeah. Does this roll run? Is this really good in Spell Demon Hunter? Like, maybe like.
That's okay. It's okay in Spell Demon Hunter. It's okay in Relic Demon Hunter. It's not special. It's 2 mana discover a spell, but Relic Demon Hunter plays in the Rubian Vizier.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, is this stronger than another Discover card? What you think is like this card is good, in my opinion, but like, is it good enough to beat out another card? That's what I'm not sure on. That's probably you test it out, but like this card's definitely, in my opinion, not bad. I think I'm feeling 3. What do you think?
I'm between a 2 and a 3.
Okay.
My brain is saying in Relic Demon Hunter this card might be better than Vizier, but better than Vizier by like 0.1%.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Barely
it feels
better.
like this might be marginally good. But it's hard for me to imagine a scenario where this is just like absolutely broken, but it could be just like you just give it, I don't know, like cast when drawn is, if you could find good spells to do it with, because it generally can't be targetable, right? So like something like Eye Beam, might not be good because it just hurts your own minions or something like that. So, but
True. Yeah, it's weird. There's some real bad spells in here, and there's some real good spells in here.
So yeah, let's do. This is a card that'll be hard to evaluate until you play it, and then either it's going to feel, wow, this card's great, or this too many bad spells. I think I'm just going to be a little safe.
I think 3 is all right for this.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we got Argonite Golem, I believe is how you say that. 3 mana, 1/5, has +1 attack for each card you have drawn this turn. Lion's Frenzy, the minion. Yeah.
How can this possibly be good, even if you're drawing 4 cards every turn? You know what I mean? Like,
If you're drawing 4 cards a turn, good for you, but
then
you also
it's a
probably
3 mana
don't want to.
5/4, so it's still like just a slightly overstated minion on the. But when you're spending, I can't. I have 1.
It's a 1. It's good for precisely one deck, which is the aggressive Demon Hunter, and that deck does not want a 3 mana 1/5. It has to sit there for a turn.
I'm not gonna run this in that. It doesn't even have rush. Like, what is it's 1 attack on your opponent's turn. Yeah, so this card is absurd. Like, maybe make this 2 mana and it might be playable. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Pass on that for now. Next up, we got Disciple of Argus. 3 mana, 2/2. Death Rattle. Summon 2/2 elementals. Summon 2/2/2 elementals with Taunt. The 2/2 that summons 2/2/2s.
I can't I'm comparing this to other tempo cards. I can't deny the efficiency of this card. This card's really efficient, right? Like, it's a lot for 3 mana, and it doesn't seem that hard to get.
It's also slow.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because you need to spend 3 mana for the 2/2 that sits there. Then it attacks and dies, which, not so great. And then you have more 2/2s that they have Taunt, but they also just kind of sit there. This card just has no synergy with anything any Demon Hunter deck does. What card do you want to cut to play this is the better
That's
question.
a good point. Yeah, so
I'm on a fat one for this.
I just feel like this. I'm gonna give it a 3. That's my instinct here. Right? I think.
Well, there are 3 minions on the card. That makes sense.
Maybe it'll be a 1, but it'll be break arena. That's probably what's actually gonna happen. So.
Think about arena. All right.
So
not much to say here though, because there's not much synergy with the card and what Demon Hunter does. Next up, we got Weight of the World. 3 mana, draw 2 cards. Forge, draw cards until you have as many in hand as your opponent first. So if you play it for 3 mana, it's Arcane Intellect. If you forge it, you play Divine Favor, and then you play Arcane Intellect.
But I have to announce to my opponent, I have Divine Favor in hand.
Sort of. So, as I understand it, when you forge a card, they will see a card got forged, but they will not know what card it was.
I'm sure
not that this deck is going to play many forge cards.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone in the no cards deck, when you forge a card with 2 cards in hand, you're like, I wonder what that is, you know?
Could be anything.
Yeah, who knows? Can't put my opponent on a range here. Seems terrible.
I'm going fat 1 on this too. Arcane Intellect is something Demon Hunter's not super interested in.
But like Demon Hunter has also run Arcane Intellects with like more, the draw 2 rush, which is tutoring as well. But
it draws 2 and discounts them by 1. I'm into that.
Oh yeah, it discounts them by 1. Yeah.
3 mana draw 2. I'm not so into this. And Divine Favor. This is something I think a lot of people got triggered by that card because they hated losing to it. But it wasn't really good when it was in Standard. And if you have to spend 2 mana to forge first, you're making the effect of the Divine Favor worse.
Yeah, because you want to get those cards. Like, and often if your opponent has 8 cards, like the when it's good, it's like, well, I don't even want the extra 2 cards, right? Like,
yeah, kind of.
Like it might be a thing of it's not. Yeah,
it's like a 5 mana Divine Favor at that point.
Yeah,
which that can't be good.
Yeah, I'll just give it a 1. It's more. It sends a message to give it a 1.
I would rather draw with Magnifying Glaive and Sightless Magistrate.
Yeah, and Demon Hunter has such good draw that it's like in other classes, like this card, like this Divine Favor, I could see in another class being really good. But like Demon Hunter already is like its class identity is its draw, so. It doesn't, I'm trying to think of like Shaman or Paladin would really like this card, but
this card's not crowding anything out.
Yeah, so yeah. Okay.
Alright. 1 second, let me just swallow this bite of food and we'll go on.
Okay.
Next up, we got Eridar Deceptor. 4 mana 3/5 demon. Whenever you draw a card, summon a 1/1 demon with Rush.
How do I have the mana to play this and draw a bunch of cards?
That's the fun part. You don't.
I mean, I could have the weapon. So you have the 3 mana weapon, you equip it, you play this, then you hit the weapon, and you draw 2 cards. And your giant payoff when you set everything up and you have this awkward 4 mana card in a low curve deck is 2 1/1s.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds
good. Broken. All right, I'll give it 1. So yeah.
Yeah. Also a 1.
Okay.
It's so weird. They made these draw cards that don't fit in the draw archetype. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I don't know. Not every card can be broken. So yeah, I don't know.
No, clearly not. Next up, we got Jotun the Eternal. 5 mana legendary, 4/5. Battlecry for the rest of your game. Cast a copy of the first spell you draw each turn at enemies. Now, the phrasing here is a little peculiar. At first, when I read this card, I thought it cast it at all enemies. But no. It will cast 1 copy of the first card you draw each turn, and if it can target something, it will target an enemy.
Okay.
So if you draw, say, a Relic of Dimensions, you just play a Relic of Dimensions. But if you draw an I-Beam, if it can target a minion, it will first target an enemy minion, and then if it can't, it'll target one of yours, I think. I don't think it just fizzles if it can't hit an enemy.
Is this absurdly broken? I feel like this might be absurdly broken. So
I have no idea, honestly. I thought it was really good when I first saw it, and I don't know if it is.
Like I could just run this in like one of my spell demon hunters, and I play it, and then I'm just getting double effects like all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and a Spell Demon Hunter could be alright, because you can get some attack bonuses or draw some cards.
Yeah.
You do have a bit of a setup. You have to get this as your minion and not, say, another minion, like a Silver Moon Arcanist, and you do have to spend 5
Yeah.
for it. And the effect is kind of uncontrollable. Maybe,
I'm
maybe
gonna be
Relic
fun and
would
just
like
give it.
it.
I'm gonna give it a 5. You know, I can't.
Alright.
So
And
yeah,
this card's really fucking difficult to assess for me.
yeah.
I'm gonna say I think it's good, and I'll say a 4. I don't think it's the
Okay.
nuts, but I think it's good.
Okay.
And it might just go into a Demon Hunter deck, and that's all you say about it. Doesn't really change a plan, it just kind of goes in. Alright, next up, then we got Momentum, which is a 5-mana spell that gives your hero +4 attack this turn. Costs 1 less for each card you've drawn this turn. Which at first looks kind of good. Because you have like Magnifying Glaive and Glaivatar, but those weapons don't work with this card. Because you have to swing your weapon first to draw the cards, so you can't attack it again.
And then even then, it's like demon hunters had 1 mana deal like 3. That's always reliable. So how this card is like absurdly bad, even in the deck that it makes sense to run it. Like
I could see Spell Demon Hunter running this simply because it's a spell that deals damage. But I don't even know if it's good there.
I can't see it in spell demon hunter. I can't see it in anything. I think it's. I'm gonna give this a 1.
Yeah, I will give it a 2 for the Fringe and Spell Demon Hunter, but even
somebody's saying
there,
like
it just doesn't look good.
in Wild you play Glide and you draw a 5 and then you get it for 0. But then
Good for you.
even
that you're
then,
playing
it's
Wild.
like who cares, right? Yeah. So I
Yeah.
give it 1. So yeah.
Yep. All right. Next up, Argus, the Emerald Star. 7 mana, 5/9 Legendary Titan. Minions to the left of this have Rush. Minions to the right have Lifesteal. And this is all minions, not just the adjacent ones. All minions to the left have Rush. All minions to the right have Lifesteal. And the abilities are: discover a Death Rattle minion. It costs 3 less. Reduce the cost of all minions in your hand by 2. And summon 4 2/2 elementals with Taunt. Worth noting, 2 summon to the right and 2 summon to the left. So you can play this, discount minions in your hand, play those for free if you want, maybe with Lifesteal or Rush. You can summon a board of bodies, kind of like a Glug. And you can, for some reason, discover a Death Rattle minion that costs 3 less. I don't know why you'd pick that.
Well, you take it and then you get Death Rattle and you put it to the left and you rush it into something and you get the Death Rattle. So
There we go. Crack the code.
yeah.
So instead of getting 4 2/2s, you would get the new 2/2 that come out in this set, and then you get 3 2/2s instead.
Oh yeah, that's broken. I told you, you doubted that card, so
Yeah.
I'm already seeing it's completely breaking the game, so yeah. Yeah.
This card says Titan.
Yeah, just Titans are just going to be all 5s, I feel like, so I'll give it a 5, so.
I'll also give this a 5. The card seems very good. You just kind of put that in a bunch of different Demon Hunters and it's fine.
Yeah.
Next up, Mythical Terror. 7 mana, 3/10 Demon Beast with Lifesteal. At the end of your turn, force all enemy minions to attack this. It's a big Demon Hunter card.
I mean, cards like this of similar strength have been good. The lifesteal's so annoying. Like you play this like, I mean, the only reason why this doesn't seem broken is we have the Silver Moon Arcanist Unleash Fel. But like this card, so you're like, oh well, that might be better. But like I can't say this is like not a really good card. So
yeah, that kind of. I mean, it's not really a Hollow Hound, but it's a little bit like a Hollow Hound.
There is so much like a hollow. I guess it takes more damage, right? That's a big deal. Because it can't, so.
There's a slight complication here, though, with the big Spell Demon Hunter, which is that this isn't an Illidari Inquisitor or a Brutal Annihilon. And I think the body on this is generally worse. So this is really good in some situations. And against other decks, this is a lot worse than your existing heavy hitters.
Yeah, I think I'll just give this a 3. It's I don't know, but like I could see the pros and the cons, but these kind of cards often are really nice. So like just the fact you can slap it down on a board of 6/1/1s and get a full heal and clear. Like I mean, like so in the right situation. So and I see like that 8 mana 3/12 that at first it's like see play is now doing really well. So I think I like this card. I'm gonna give it a 3.
Uh, I'll go a little lower on it too, but I do see that yeah, there's definitely the potential there. This thing can just it can Reno you, just like a lot of other things can Reno you.
Yeah.
Renos tend to be good. I'm a little concerned about the anti-synergy with pulling other large minions, but whatever.
Yeah.
So, for Demon Hunter, they got like a card or two, I think, that might slot into existing decks here and there, but overall, I don't like this set at all.
Yeah,
Feels like
yeah.
we're
I mean,
lacking the direction.
it's not a archetype defining. I mean, the Jotun will be a fun card to try out. I mean, Titan's going to be good.
Sure.
Even if, but there's probably no new archetypes unless just there's no new like Blizzard created this archetype. So
No,
I mean, I don't
definitely not.
I don't but I feel like there are cards that could be game changers for different who knows on Jotun and the right deck that if it really adds to the power level of something, who know so
Yeah.
I'm not it's
Some decks might find a new card or two,
yeah.
and good for them. All right, next up, we got Druid. Starting with Embrace of Nature. 1 mana nature spell, draw a choose one card, and if you forge this, that card has both effects combined. This is like the first forge card I think is very good.
Is it? I mean, I guess I can.
At a base level, it's still just 1 mana tutor or choose one card. That's not miserable by any means. But the choose one cards
But it's
can
not
be
discover.
absurd
It's not
here.
even discover. Choose one card. So it's like
Yeah, you can play its small package, so that you can guarantee one. Like if you get a drum circle, say, that summons 5/4/6 taunts on 7 mana.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
That's
So,
really, really good.
I mean, this seems like drum circled the card. That's like the only
Kind of.
reason I see. Like, I don't think this is good enough for Nourish. Like Expired Merchant seemed a lot better than this.
Yeah, you probably don't want Nourish from this in a lot of matches.
My instinct is this card is just so inefficient. Like I don't want to play. Like I can't play it on. It's not something I can forge on one. So it's like, do I play it on 3? I often want to go coin. Wild Bloom Seed's been on 3. If I'm a ramping deck, it's really awkward when you play it. That's what I'm trying to say. And like the only card that it seems worth it is like Drum Circle. I can't deny like that's really good, right? But
Well, there's another card in this set that might change your mind.
okay, so I'll give it a 2 just because of the Drum Circle effect, but I'm skeptical. So
I'm gonna give it a 5. I think this card is nutty.
5. Wow. Okay.
5.
All right.
Well, you'll see why in a second.
Okay. All right.
Next card, we got Forest Seedlings. 1 mana, summon 2/1/1 saplings. Blossoms in 2 turns. And the way that works is at the end of your turn, this ticks down. So it starts out at 2, and at the end of the turn you draw it, it goes down to 1. And then the end of next turn, it transforms into summoning 2/2/2 treants for 1 mana. For some reason, this isn't a nature spell.
I mean, 2 mana to 1/1s I've seen play
Yes.
even recently. This just seems better than that. It doesn't, the 1 mana card that deals 1, you could also deal 2. So that's it's different. It's a different upside downside. But I mean, this seems easily playable. Is it good enough? Who knows? But I think a 2 or 3. So
I'm going 3 on it personally.
okay, I'll give it 3 as well. Yeah.
I think it's usually 2/1/1s, but there's also the Treant synergy that we have in this set, which is nice. Okay. I think that's good enough to see play in an aggressive Druid deck.
Okay.
After that, we got Lifebinder's Gift. 2 mana nature spell, choose 1. Get 2 random nature spells, or reduce the cost of spells in your hand by 1.
So this is like
Like a
palm reading. It's like
Yeah.
palm reading, but like this card seems really good.
Yeah, this card seems really good. Especially if you get both choose one effects stacked up. Get 2 nature spells and then reduce the whole spell hand by 1.
Yeah.
Works really well with Topior. I think Topior is going to be a big player next game.
Topior is interesting that it was busted and then it was unplayable. All right. I think this. I'm not quite sold on a 5. I'm gonna give it a 4. So
I'm going to give it a 5 as well. I think you can set up some real nutty combos with this.
all right,
Like you can discount one of those solar eclipse combos easily.
Yeah.
Pretty big. After Lifebinder's Gift, we got Conservator Nymph. A 3-mana 3/4 with a battle cry, transform a friendly treant into a 5/5 ancient with taunt. So if this hits a treant, basically it's +3/+3 in taunt.
These cards never actually work because it's not +3/+3 and you can attack it face. Like this was like that 2-mana card from Paladin, the Divine Shield. Like I think I don't even run this in my Druid. I'm gonna give it a 1. So
What about Blood Treant?
oh
you play
yeah,
Blood Treant for free-ish, and then make a 5/5 for 0.
yeah. I guess that's good. I'm still I don't believe it. I'm a skeptic. I play Light That Burns on your 5/5.
Yeah, true.
I'm obviously but it's like I don't believe in it. So I'm gonna give 1.
I'll give it a 2. I'm not quite sold on a 3. But I can see this actually having a role in a new aggressive Treant deck. I think the card's not that bad. Not great, but it's not that bad. After Conservator Nymph, we got Frost Lotus Seedling. 3-mana nature spell, draw 1 card, gain 4 armor, blossoms in 3 turns, into draw 2 cards, and gains 8 armor. So up front you get a decently inefficient shield block, and then on the back end you get a much more efficient shield block.
Yeah. So he's saying, yeah, reminds you of Ferocious Howl. That's a good comparison. Ferocious Howl does seem better that you can play it immediately.
And you gain more armor.
Yeah. I mean, this card is better when it's Blossom than Ferocious Howl, but not that much. But it's so much worse when it's not. But Ferocious Howl is still really, really good card. So this might be... it's hard also, though, because Druid needs tempo in the early turns. So I feel like it doesn't actually like playing this on 3.
3 turns is infinite turns.
Yeah.
If this isn't in your opening hand, you are sad.
And do you want to keep this in your opening hand so you can, you want to hit ramp, right? Like.
Yeah. Because you're not. If you keep this in your opening hand, you're not playing it on 3.
Yeah.
Because turn 1 it ticks down, turn 2 it ticks down, turn 3 it blossoms. You're talking about playing it on turn 4 at least, and that sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. All right, I liked it at first, but I was gonna say 3, and now I'm at 1. So yeah, it's just not.
Yeah. Okay, after Frost Lotus Seedling, we got Disciple of Eonar, 4-mana 4/4. Battle Cry. Your next choose 1 card has both effects combined, and that holds over turns.
It's pretty good with Drum Circle.
Yep, it curves and Nourish nicely. It's kind of good with that 2-mana spell, the Lifebinder's Gift, that gets you the nature spells and discounts the spells in your hand. This card seems very good.
I'll give it a 4. So
I will also give it a 4. Not much more to say about it beyond it looks powerful. After that, we got Ancient of Growth, a 7-mana 5/5. Choose 1, summon 3 2/2 treants, or transform your treants into 5/5 ancients with taunt.
So you run this card, you run that forge card, and you, I see. So this is that card from an early game that I said that was bad. They get a lot of synergy. So you have Drum Circle, you have this. You can run like you maybe one more, choose 1.
You got Lifebinder's Gift.
You could always get something good, I guess, because you only run good ones.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, when you get both effects, this is great. But you know, there's a cost for getting both effects, right?
There is.
So, but it's hard to get both effects. I mean, I'm really because it's just like how often do you get curved down? Just die on turn
Like
5.
maybe on turn 4 you play Disciple of Eonar. On turn 5 you go Summer Flower Child, and then you play this on 6. Maybe
Yeah, I
you
mean,
could also play Drum Circle on 6.
yeah, I mean, a noob Zoc was better than this,
Mhm.
and that was always your like barely not dying, like, and then you know you put literally like, you know, sometimes 40 health worth of taunts. This is 15 health worth of taunts.
Yeah,
Um,
this is a choose one card, and it costs 6 or more mana. So I can tutor it with Flower
yeah,
Child, and I can tutor it with not Gift of Nature, with Embrace of Nature. But I think I would rather tutor other stuff. I'd rather get Drum Circle. I'd rather
yeah,
find my Topior. I'd rather do things like that. So I don't think this card is necessarily bad, but I think it's really crowded out to the point that I'm going to give it a 1.
yeah. I keep going lower and lower, and I just feel like it's a 1. Yeah. So, okay.
All right. Next up, we got Cultivation, an 8 mana nature spell. Give your minions +2/+2. Costs 1 less for each treant you have summoned this game. Not cast, summoned. So tokens count. And I forgot this, so I'll mention it now. Soul of the Forest has been buffed to cost 3 mana.
This seems pretty insane.
It does, it does.
Treant. Yeah, you just get one Soul of the Forest, and then and also if you're running Solar Eclipse, all of a sudden it's +4/+4, and that's a finisher. Like,
Yeah, if you get to choose one Drum Circle, that summons 5 treants.
you
And
don't even need
that just
that. You
pushes this
know,
to
like,
3 instantly.
yeah. This seems like, I mean, you have to have the build around, so you can't do this in any token decks. You have to do treants, but like, uh, I mean, any treant deck, this makes treant decks good. Like, this is the win condition. You know,
Yeah, I could see this actually both definitely an aggressive low curvy treant deck, but also if you're setting this up as more of a finisher after a Drum Circle, I can easily
yeah,
see this being even good in that deck. Like you play a Drum Circle at some point, and this just costs 3 or maybe 0
yeah.
then. And then you play Topior, and at some point your board just lives and you kill them.
Yeah, or I just make this. I get a one board of Soul of the Forest. My opponent's a dilemma. Do they just let my board live forever? But if they can't full clear it with like a double clear, then they clear once and maybe they get stuff, and then I go solar this and I get my minions +4/+4, and I just win the game and kill them right there. You know, so
Yeah.
I mean, I give this 5. It seems absurd.
Yeah. I was on a 5 too. At first I was thinking 4, but I'm going up. I think this card is just
Yeah,
excellent.
yeah.
Alright, well after Cultivation we got Freya, Keeper of Nature. 8 mana, 4/6 legendary. Choose one, duplicate your hand, or summon copies of all other friendly minions.
This is a
It's the
tough
old
one.
Elise effect without the Highlander condition, but it costs more mana. Or you get
Yeah.
the copy your board thing.
I mean, multiple faceless. I mean, someone said black gloop swear. So it's interesting. There are cards that were cheaper that weren't choose ones, right? But um,
Yeah, I like Freya, but I feel she's a very she's kind of like a tech card in a way, a meta call.
yeah, I could see that.
She's expensive. She's going to get in the way of your choose one tutors, get in the way of your Summer Flower Child tutors. And you're probably not that interested in copying your board a lot of the time. It's mostly more stuff in your hand. Like, more Astalors, more cultivations, more buffs, more duplicated choose ones. I don't really know. It's okay, but I think it might just trip on all the other expensive stuff we want to play, so I could see it phasing in and out depending on the meta. So, 2.
2 seems good. Yeah, I agree.
And, speaking of things that might be good with Freya, we got Eonar the Lifebinder, the 10 mana 5/7 Titan from Druid. After this uses an ability, summon a 5/5 Ancient with Taunt, and the 3 abilities are draw cards until your hand is full, restore your hero to full health, and refresh your mana crystals. So, you can drop this on turn 10. And then it's like you dropped it for 0 mana. A 5/5. And you can have the rest of your turn. You could Reno yourself if you want. You can dig for key combo pieces.
People are saying, I don't know how it works with the abilities already used, but you can go play the Lifebinder, then go Freya, right? Do you get the Freya with that when copying this? Would that give you another ability to use it?
Yeah. So the way that would work, as I understand it, is if you summon a copy of a minion, like with a cover artist, or Reverberation, or Freya, it will be a direct copy of that. So if you've used one ability, it shouldn't be available again.
Okay, but could you attack immediately? You think with the Okay.
So what you could play ENR, use the ability to refresh your mana crystals, get a 5/5. Then you could play Freya. Then you get another 5/5 taunt, and you get another ENR, and that other ENR can then use another ability to Reno yourself or draw, I think.
Yeah. I mean, with that old, what was that 10 mana guy? The keys, that was in standard.
Kuhn, Forgotten King.
Yeah. I mean, this seems like Kuhn, but absurdly better. And Kuhn is good enough.
This is a 5, right?
Yeah. Another the hot takes. Titans are good. You heard it here first, people. All right.
Yep. Almost all the Titans are good.
Yeah.
Druid got a hell of a set. I love Druid's set. We got like an aggressive treant deck. We got to choose one. We got a whole nature archetype. They got a good Titan. They kill people. That's exciting and powerful.
Yeah, Druid seems good. I mean,
I like this Druid.
I mean, I think cultivation. I bet the cultivation, unless Treant Druid is bad, at some point, Treant Druid gets nerfed because it's just like this card's absurd. And I mean, I guess Arbor Up never got nerfed, so maybe not. But so this card's really good. I'm a believer. So yeah.
Me too. Good Druid set. Moving on to Hunter.